him. 6 foot, 230 pounds, a big man out of Oklahoma, and he can catch the ball as well. He's got 13 catches, 71 yards. So when they run it, it's going to be Ramondre. He played basically every snap once Damian Harris went out last week. When they throw it, they've got Devontae Parker, who has a 1,000-yard season under his belt back in 2019. They've got Tyquan Thornton, who made his debut last week, their second-round pick, who ran a 4.28 at the Combine, the fastest time for any wide receiver there. They've got Nelson Aguilar, who's a big play guy, although he didn't play much last week. But a couple of years ago, he had 896 yards and 8 touchdowns, averaging 18 yards a catch with Las Vegas in 2020, signed a big free agent deal. They've got Jacoby Myers, who's missed 2 games this year and still leads the team with 20 catches for 261 yards and a touchdown. So he's averaging, like 87 yards a game, which is 6th most in the NFL. And then they've got Hunter Henry. Now, Hunter Henry on the season, 9 catches, 95 yards, no touchdowns. Last year was his first year. They signed, remember, him and Jonnu Smith. Do you have any ballpark on what Hunter Henry did last year for the Patriots?
I would have no reference. I would be silly. Be worse than any guess the stats give me.
50 catches, 603 yards, and 9 touchdowns.
I would not have had
me neither.
That in the vicinity of that.
He had 2 scores against us a year ago. Bourne scored against us last year. Jacoby Myers scored against us last year. Ramondre had 2. Remember, that was a big beating that they put on the Browns. So that's their team. They're going to run it a lot. Backing up Ramondre is going to be Pierre Strong, their 4th-round pick out of South Dakota State. That's it. Their offensive line is good. They've got Trent Brown. He's back with the Patriots. They've traded for him. Unique fact about him, he's been traded for by the Patriots twice.
Love him.
Trent Brown, their 1st-round pick. Cole Strange, the 29th overall pick in the draft. He's their left guard. David Andrews, every year starter, is the center. Mike Onwenu, who is the number 1 pass-blocking guard at Pro Football Focus this year, is out of Michigan, is the right guard. He's actually up there with our guys, Wyatt and Joel Bitonio, in terms of the best guards in the league so far this year. And they've got Isaiah Wynn. They will use Marcus Cannon, their tackle, who started 70 games for New England, a 3-time Super Bowl champ. They will use him as that 6th offensive lineman like we use Michael Dunn. Quarterback, of course, Mac Jones was a Pro Bowler last year. Did you have that? Obviously an alternate, but still.
Yeah, I mean, it trickled down quite a ways, I think, to get to that point.
Last year, he went 10-7, 67% completions, 3,801 yards, 22 touchdowns, 13 picks, 92.5 rating, which is stunning. Against us, he was 19 of 23 for 198 yards and 3 touchdowns in that game. This year, though, he's been bad. 5 interceptions, which through the first 3 games, most in the NFL, 76 rating. Bailey Zappi has come in and been the quarterback the last 2 weeks after Brian Hoyer got knocked out. He's 1-0 as a starter. He was their 4th-round pick this week. Last week, he goes 17 of 21, 188 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 81% completions, 100 quarterback rating, and he did not get sacked once, didn't take 1 sack. For the season, 75% completions, 287, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 105 rating, which is 5th best in the NFL. Interesting factoids. Has fumbled in both games. Another interesting factoid. Of his 35 attempts, only 5 of them have been to the left side of the field. 14 in the middle, 16 to the right. I don't know if that's a tendency that we can jump on, take advantage of, but something that I find very, very interesting. Do you know Bailey Zappi? Do you know?
Western Kentucky kid, right? Is that where he's from? Threw it all over the place in college, if memory serves.
Like, to levels which have never been seen before.
Yeah, I'm prolific. I do remember that. Hilltoppers, I believe.
Western Kentucky, Conference USA MVP. Last year, he completes 70% of his passes.
All right.
He sets the NCAA record for passing yards in a season, breaking a record held by B.J. Simmons
out of Texas Tech
from 2003, which I would have not have had. Of 5,000 throws for 5,962 yards last year.
That's a lot.
He also breaks Burrow's record for the most touchdowns in a season. He threw for 62.
Jeez.
He threw for 5,962 yards and 62 touchdowns last year.
It also lost, just real quick to put a fine point on it.
Sure.
Broke Burrow's record playing in the SEC. So Burrow threw 60.
Yeah.
In the SEC. Yeah.
Which is still insane.
But yes, this is nuts. I knew it was prolific. I did not realize it was all-time prolific with him at Western Kentucky.
So if he starts, the Patriots have won their last 3 with a quarterback making the first road start of his career. Mac Jones, Jimmy Garoppolo, Matt Castle. Tom Brady is the only quarterback to lose his first road start under Bill Belichick.
That's wild.
Which is wild. They only have 4 passing touchdowns on the year. That is the 4th fewest in the NFL. But not a crazy team, but you got to watch, obviously, big plays. They can hit some big plays. They've done it. You got to try to sell out to stop the run. And, I think our corners should be able to win man-to-man with their guys. But that's what you're going to get, a lot of run. And then they're going to, throw it around the yard from time to time when they feel like it's an advantageous situation. Bo.
Who's calling the plays?
I don't know. They say Matt Patricia, but I don't know.
You look at this staff. I'm just pulled it up. Patricia is the senior advisor offensive line. Now, remember last time he was here as the D coordinator.
Yep.
And then he got the Lions gig. Joe Judge is on this staff.
Yep.
Calling quarterbacks.
Those are like the two offensive guys.
They're
Troy
doing
Brown is on the
Vinny
staff.
Sinceri is there at running backs.
Yep.
Troy Brown. I mean, this is the staff. But I just curious. I guess we'll have Bob on in a minute, and we'll ask him
They say
what he
it's
thinks the
Patricia.
process is, that Patricia is calling it.
Yeah.
It's amazing that you could do that you could take a guy who's been a defensive guy his whole career, and then in an era when everything is so specialized offense, defense.
It's wild.
It's a heck of a thing. All right, coming up next, your stardom and sit-ems from Dr. Z, plus we guess the spread. It's coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns
baby.
Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. There's a new way to cheer on your Cleveland Browns with the help of your favorite four-legged companion, Barking Backers, presented by Milk-Bone, is the Browns' newest club for pet parents worldwide. Sign up today at barkingbackers.com. Barking Backers, the fan club for dogs. It is Week 6 in fantasy football. Dr. Z, who you keeping an eye on, my friend?
All right. Fantasy football.
You. That's on you. Loser.
As we don't have time. We have guess the lines. We can't litigate Gibbe right now.
Yeah, Gibbe, forget it. Fantasy football, week number 6. Some good matchups around the league. Look, you've got to go and read the tea leaves. Kenneth Walker. Rashad Penny's out. Kenneth Walker is in for Seattle. I hope you got him on your waiver wires. We had mentioned that. That's a guy that you absolutely need to get into your lineups. Breece Hall, rocket ship. He's becoming a star right before our very eyes. Tonight, if you have to play somebody, I do think David Montgomery is a good running back play tonight. Jeff Wilson against the Falcons, that remains a good start for you there. And then defenses, because that's the kind of things that people stream. Tight ends, Taysom Hill. You can get more production out of him than you can most tight ends because he's playing quarterback. Now, somebody's going to stop it. Will that be the Bengals? Probably.
Yeah.
But it's a good gamble to take. Some guys who might be on your wire that can help you. Rondale Moore is playing a big role if you're in a PPR league. Now, don't forget DeAndre Hopkins. If he's not on a roster in your leagues, he comes back next week, and he is fired up.
Yeah, he seems like he's excited.
He's quite excited. So that's another guy to take a look at there. Melvin Gordon against the Chargers. I can't quit him. I think he has a nice game there against a very soft run defense, and we know that very, very well.
All right, let's do it. Time to guess
let's get
the
to
lines.
the good stuff.
This is the wins. All right, let's start tonight. Washington at Chicago. By the way, did you read Al Michaels? He's not pleased about his game last week, about how bad the game was.
Really? What did he say?
Comment. I think I
Well,
pulled
wait
it
till
up.
he gets a loaded tonight.
This one,
yeah.
I think it'll be better than that game. I mean,
Well,
it can't be worse.
than that one.
Yeah.
He said, hopefully it's a one-off. He was on Waddle and Sylvie yesterday. What is the line? Oh, if we don't have a better game than we had last Thursday, I may retire. I've done pretty close to 800 NFL games. With all due respect, guys are trying, and I understand. We all know that, but that was grim.
Boy,
God
was
bless
it.
him. All right, Washington at Chicago.
Washington at Chicago. The Commies will be favored by – they wouldn't do a half. Has anybody ever been favored by a half?
No, it's usually one or pick 'em.
Yeah, so I'll say Commies by 1.
Nailed it. Niners.
Let's go.
At Atlanta. Niners at Atlanta. I believe them to be the second best team in the NFC right now.
Niners at Atlanta minus –
Atlanta's covered, I think, the last 3 weeks.
Niners minus 6.5.
What was my threshold for it to count for you?
1. Is it 8?
What sucks about this is it was 5.5 this morning. It's 5 now. So this morning you get it.
Well,
I'm giving it to you. I'm generous. New England at Cleveland.
I actually don't know our line. Amazing. Us minus 3.
Minus 2.5. You got it.
Let's go.
Jets,
Heater.
Jets at Packers. Jets at Packers.
Green Bay minus 6.
You don't get it. Green Bay minus 7.5.
Come on.
Too much. Jacks at Indy.
Indy minus 3.
Get it. It's minus 2.5. Minnesota at Miami. What a heater you're on here. This is an incredible start for Zagura.
Minnesota.
Coming off of a down week.
Minnesota minus 1.
Mini minus 3.
Ah.
Don't get it. Cincinnati at NOLA.
By the way, I bet they take that Minnesota game off the board depending
Yeah.
on who plays quarterback.
Yep.
Cincinnati minus 1.
You get it? Cincinnati minus 1.5.
Let's go.
Baltimore at the Giants.
Ravens minus 3.5.
Ravens minus 5.5.
What?
Exactly. 5.5. Bucks at Steelers.
Oh, this has to be. No, it's not going to be. They're not as good as the Bills.
That was 14 for the kids.
So this is going to be 9.5.
You don't get it. Minus 8. Panthers at Ramit.
Rams minus 10.
Nailed it.
Okay. All right.
Could be Jacob Eason at quarterback in Carolina. The
Over
practice
P.J.
squad
Walker?
quarterback is getting first-team reps.
Oh, my God.
Well, Walker was rules boy because he played for him at Temple.
Wow.
So who knows? Cardinals at Seattle.
I don't even know who's favored in this game. Seattle minus 2.
Cardinals minus 2.5.
Yeah.
You don't get it.
No.
You could convince me of either one on that one.
Okay.
Bills at Kansas City.
I know the Bills are favored.
Mm-hmm.
Bills minus 2.5.
Nailed it. That one came down a half point this week. Dallas at Philly.
Philly minus 5.
Philly minus 6.5. You
What?
Don't get it.
I thought I was on the high end.
You were. Denver at Chargers on Monday night. Russ again in Monday Night Football.
Chargers minus 4. Feels like
Got
Vegas
it.
zone.
Chargers minus 4.5.
Okay.
So you went 8 and 6.
Felt way better than that.
Yep, 8 and 6. You got Chicago, you got the Washington Chicago, you got 49ers Atlanta, you got us, you got the Jets, or you missed that one. You got Jacksonville and Indy, Cincinnati and New Orleans, Carolina, Ram it, Bills, Chiefs, and Denver, LA.
All right.
The one that I thought that you would be most off on is the one that floored me a little bit. Baltimore 5.5 at Giants. That seems inflated to
Yeah,
me
feels
that it's
big.
that high. The Giants are 4-1. They're pretty quality.
New York.
In New York, that feels like a lot.
Yeah.
And then initially when I saw Ram it minus 10, I thought, can they beat anybody by 10?
I don't know.
But this Carolina team
so dreadful. They're the worst team in the league.
I think by a wide margin.
Agreed.
And I'm not really sure what their plan is going forward. I mean, there's all this talk that there could be a fire sale there, that McCaffrey could be on the move, that their defensive players could be on the move, their receivers could be on the move. It's all in play. Rumpke Waste Recycling, family-owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, you'll become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. I think overall you're above 500 on these because week one you crushed it. Week one we did it, you crushed it. Last week you came back to earth, and then this week you're 2 games over. So I think you're doing pretty good here.
Why were there only 14 games?
4 buys.
Oh, that's right.
Bye week time.
Raiders. Yeah,
Raiders,
that's right.
Lions.
That's right.
I'm not sure who else.
Texans.
Yep. Texans. Who else? There's one more. Who did we miss?
Did we say the Titans?
Titans. Those are your 4 buys.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Coming up next, we go behind enemy lines with the great Bob Socci. Joins us coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Buying or selling a home with Howard Hanna Real Estate Services, always a winning strategy. If you plan to make a move this season, they're going to have you covered at Howard Hanna. Every day is game day. Visit howardhanna.com/go Browns today. And for some perspective on the New England Patriots, we head behind enemy lines. Our good buddy Bob Socci, voice of the Patriots, on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea, hard iced tea, an official sponsor of the Cleveland Browns. Bob, thanks so much for taking the time. Let's start at the quarterback position and who we're likely to see. What are you hearing this week? Will it be Bailey Zappi, or could Mac Jones make a return?
I think it's more what we're seeing this week so far. Granted, in very limited exposure to practices, we only get a chance to watch the stretch, and as you guys are probably familiar with, going out to the Browns practice, a handful of plays in a period or two. But what we've seen this week is some improvement from Mac Jones, but he was listed as limited yesterday, and I don't anticipate a change in that status today. Yesterday, when we did see him throw, as I mentioned, he looked a lot better than last week, but still I think there are questions about his mobility and stability. And also Bailey Zappi spent a little more time with the offensive lineman in the brief exposure we had to practice yesterday. So I think Zappi right now is the starter for the Patriots, unless Mac shows enough progress and showed enough today and tomorrow to put himself in consideration. I think it's his nature to want to come back and play sooner rather than later. I think some people around here believe, well, they should, err on the side of caution, and whether he's, 80%, 90%, anything shy of 100%, hold him out for this game and go with Zappi, who's played, well enough for them, hasn't made mistakes, to take care of the ball. He's managed the game pretty well. Go with him against the Browns. But I think there's a lot of respect for Cleveland and the Browns being much better than a 2-3 football team. And so I think if Jones has a shot to play, and Bill Belichick has confidence that he can go out there and not further aggravate the injury that he's been dealing with, the high ankle injury to the left foot, his plant leg, then it wouldn't shock me if he plays. I'm expecting Zappi. It wouldn't shock me if we see Mac Jones on Sunday.
If we do see Zappi, he has been so impressive the last 2 weeks. What has stood out to you about him, and how has he impressed Bill Belichick with his ability to lead this team down the field and complete 75% of his passes?
Well, I think the first things that stand out, and you go back to the Green Bay appearance, to have to come off the sideline, first time he's ever dressed in an NFL game. And consider, too, where he came from to get to that point. Played most of his collegiate career at Houston Baptist, one season at Western Kentucky, eye-popping numbers nonetheless, and notwithstanding 6,000 yards and over 60 touchdown passes. Against Western Kentucky's competition, very few opportunities to really play up. But he did finish his season again with really impressive numbers, went to the Senior Bowl, impressed there. But that was really the first chance he had an opportunity to work with any kind of an NFL style of play calling, offense, the concept of protections. He was in the air raid offense under the same coordinator in both college stints. So he was the guy that took snaps out of the shotgun all the time. Very little experience under center. So he really had to start from square one in his professional journey to become the Patriots' third-string quarterback and to play in preseason games, let alone to be available and ready to go for his opportunity opposite Aaron Rodgers in emergency quarterback Brian Hoyer at Lambeau Field. And his point is so impressive in that spot. I think his intelligence has stood out to the Patriot coaches since they first began to have, I would say, average arm strength, but it's adequate arm strength. Really, a couple of weeks asked him to do two things: take care of the ball, don't make mistakes that are going to lose us the game, and make the safe choice, make the safe pass. And they've given him that opportunity, I think, with the nature of the play calling to do that. And then on occasion, if we need you to make a throw, be able to do that. And I think we have seen evidence of that each of the last two games. The touchdown pass stepping up, showing better pocket movement in game two with his TD pass to Jacoby Myers. And you go back to the Green Bay game, there were a couple of throws in that contest, one in particular, a comeback to Nelson Aguilar that I thought was very impressive.
Bob, it's interesting. We were doing our defense versus the Patriots offense, and obviously we're not paying attention to the Patriots on a weekly basis, but now here we are, and we're getting ready for the matchup. And I looked down, and I guess I had forgotten I'm thinking, who's calling plays here? Now we know that Josh McDaniel's not. And of course, I look down, I see Matt Patricia, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, they're doing this. How did that come about, and how's it going?
Well, it's going a lot better 5 weeks into the season than I think most would say it went in the spring or the summer and the preseason, or frankly, the first 3 to 4 weeks. I think, it surprised everybody here that Matt Patricia and Joe Judge got tabbed as offensive line coach, senior advisor, de facto play caller. He doesn't have that title. Bill has yet to, give him that title. And with Joe Judge as the quarterback's coach, of course, having been the Patriots special teams coordinator before he became the, less than innovative offensively head coach of the New York Giants. A huge surprise to everyone around here after Josh McDaniel's departure. And McDaniels took a number of offensive assistants with him, including Mick Lombardi, of course, a son of Mike Lombardi, the former GM there. And with McDaniels leaving and Patricia taking over offensively, there was a suspicion, and I think it's held true, that Bill would become more involved in offense, just as he was in the early days in your neck of the woods. And that's what we saw. In training camp practices, Patricia and Judge alternatingly called plays, but Bill Belichick spent a lot of time on the offensive side. Usually in training camp, he might be 50-50, if not 60-40 on the defensive side. But this training camp, Bill was there fully involved almost 100% of the time with the offense that we could see. And I think it has continued to be a collaborative effort. That's how they've all described it thus far through the first 5 weeks. And I will say, I think Patricia, the last 2 weeks, in the job that he has done to manage the situation with Zappe and the improvement the Patriots have made, particularly with their run game. They tried to go to a lot of outside zone in the spring and then in the summer, and it did not go well. They've kind of gone back to a lot of their tried and true concepts, more traditional of the Patriots offense with the running game, the gap runs, and some of the inside zone stuff. And that, I think, has gotten them going offensively, more so than what they tried in the spring and the summer. But it's really been kind of I know it's a cop-out to say it's a work in progress, but that's what it's been. I think it's been a period of trial and error offensively for them to this point when it comes to that. That part of the decision-making day-to-day, what the game plan is going to be, but also from play to play, what they're going to opt for in any given situation.
Well, you can turn around and hand it to Ramondre Stevenson, and that's what they did last
Right.
week. Career-high 25 carries, 161. With Harris out, he is the guy. And, look, the Browns' struggles with the run defense the last 2 weeks are pretty well documented. Are you expecting to see a healthy dose of Ramondre this week?
Yeah, one would have to expect so. I mean, you look at the matchup, and certainly, that's the advantage for the Patriots offensively against the Browns' defense, unless Cleveland vastly improves. I think the concerning part for the Patriots, though, is they don't have Damian Harris. And last year they got away with it because Damian missed that game, but, of course, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt didn't play for the Browns in Week 10 in Foxborough. Well, now they've got to deal with Nick Chubb on the other side, and while the Patriots' run defense played well against the Lions, it was not very good. In fact, it wasn't good at all the previous 2 weeks versus Baltimore, and as well Green Bay. The Packers rushed for 199 yards with a combination of A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. So I would expect the Browns in a lot of ways to look at the Patriots defense and think similarly, and it's going to be kind of an old-fashioned game from that standpoint, especially if Zappe is the quarterback for the Pats.
Bob, let's flip it to the other side in this Patriots defense, and it's interesting. You pay attention a little bit to Detroit. They're in the region, and we have some people that used to be here who are part of the infrastructure over there, and they'd been an offensive dynamo if lacking in other areas. They'd been able to score points. What was New England so successful at last week that led to a shutout of a Detroit team that felt like it was scoring in the mid to high 30s every week?
Yeah, I think there was a strong sense going into that game. The key for the Patriots defensively, as simple as it sounds, it started with tackling. Because watching the film, and Belichick does a segment each week on the team's website, and it's part of the weekly TV show the team produces, called The Bellustrator. And repeatedly, I think he pointed out in his segment the missed tackles by the teams the Lions had played. A lot of yards after the catch. And when you look at it statistically, it certainly held true. Some long runs, some big plays, yards after contact. Roughly half the yardage in both the rushing attack and the passing game for the Lions came after contact or after the catch. And so I think that was a big part of it. If you were to go back and watch that game, you'll see a number of plays where Goff, when he completed passes, even on fourth down, hits the receiver, but he's tackled immediately, stopped short of the sticks. The other part of that is the Patriots got to Goff. They set the tone early, too, with a fourth down stop. The Lions were 0 for 6, a record for
NFL
defense
record.
to hold the opposition. 0 for 6 on fourth down. And while Detroit went for it in its end of the field at the 45-yard line or thereabouts, and that gave the Patriots a short field and allowed New England right away to play from out front. Then it's 6-0. And then Detroit goes for it again. Now they have a 3rd and 2 inside the Patriots' 30. They absorb a loss on a near fumble. Running back has to hold it on his hip. He gets tackled. Now it's 4th and 9, and Goff gets strip sacked by Matt Judon. Kyle Duggar picks it up, runs 59 yards for a touchdown. And I thought right then and there, the Lions, in essence, they were done. There were defensive backs were going down on defense. They really couldn't get to Zappe with the kind of blitz pressure they generally try to exert against opposing quarterbacks, and it's a porous defense to begin with. But then offensively, I thought Goff was rattled. The Patriots had success against him twice before when he was a Ram, including in Super Bowl 53. I just feel like, he kind of fell apart in that game a bit, and the Patriots did a great job on T.J. Hawkinson. You look at the priority for the Pats going into that game. They stopped Hawkinson. It wasn't a factor. They were very physical with him coming off the ball. Duggar did a good job on him for the most part defensively as well, again, with a lot of help at the line of scrimmage from the defensive ends and the outside linebackers. And they were able to do against him what they could not do in the previous couple of games, frankly, against Mark Andrews predominantly, but even Robert Tonyan of Green Bay.
Nick Folk, unreal, 63 straight makes inside of the 50. If we had that last week, we'd be 3-2. And unfortunately, we're not. But how has he been so good? And that's got to be a joy just to watch that. And goes 5 for 5 a week ago. He has not missed inside of 50 since week 1 of 2020. Like, that's crazy. How come everybody goes to New England and is awesome, from Vinatieri to Gostkowski and now Nick Folk?
He's really amazing, especially so because his last game in the NFL before the Patriots signed him in 2019 was against New England on a Thursday night with Tampa Bay, and it was his last game as a Buccaneer. He was dealing with a hip injury, I believe, and he missed 3 field goals in that game, and ultimately the Buccaneers lost a close one, a one-score contest to the Patriots, that had he made any one of those field goals, they would have won. Well, he goes into commercial real estate in the Dallas area. He continues to kick on the side. He gets an opportunity with San Diego, I think it was, in the Alliance of American Football, brief as it was. Or maybe it was the Arizona Hotshots. It might have been Arizona, forgive me, Nick, being from the University of Arizona. So he plays briefly in the AAF and continues to kick on the side. The Patriots bring him in for a workout with Gostkowski hurt. They don't sign him initially. He goes back home. But then, they cycle through some kickers, and eventually Kai Forbath just couldn't cut it. They bring in Folk, and he finishes the season strong, but he's also dealing the following year with appendicitis, so he's got to be put on the shelf for a couple of weeks, but comes back and he's consistent in his demeanor, his professionalism, and obviously his production. He missed his first couple of field goals of 2021, and then I don't think he missed again the rest of the season. And all of his misses were from 50-plus yards, and this year, as you said, he's got that streak going under 50. He's been fantastic, to say the least. He's been a godsend, really.
Bob, thank you so much for your time. We love catching up with you and look forward to seeing you over here on Sunday.
Yeah, guys, looking forward to it. We've had the pleasure of going to Pittsburgh and Green Bay for the last 2 road trips, and now to go to another great football city. Can't wait. I'm trying to find tickets to the Guardians and Yankees on Saturday night.
I think we can find a way to help with that.
But it would be a great weekend. Looking forward to the game on Sunday, fellas. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The great Bob Socci, the voice of the Patriots on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought you to by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, an official sponsor of the Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. So that's on you, Gibbe.
Gibbe, you got that.
You got that. That's in your bag.
You got that.
That's easy.
I'm sorry. I was not part of that interview.
I believe you.
No.
You can take care of that for Bob. I mean, that feels like that somebody listening can make that work for 2 tickets. I mean, that's
Bob?
Yeah. Come on. There's nothing quite like tailgating touchdowns and Twisted Tea. It tastes just like real iced tea. You know why? Because it's made with real brewed tea. Cool, refreshing, 5% kick of alcohol. It's thirst down and gold. Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Keep it twisted. A Scores.
Oh,
on
baby.
a Thursday.
That's right.
coming up. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans, catch the Kevin Stefanski Show with Z and Gerard tonight from 7 to 8. Great Road Tavern. Meet Browns quarterback Josh Dobbs. Check out Thursday Night Football as guys get you ready for Sunday's game against the Patriots, Dr. Z.
All right, some updates from practice today. Myles Garrett not practicing today. Denzel Ward, Jack Conklin, Joe Haig. Jadeveon Clowney was not out there but walked out as the open portion of practice closed. Ronnie Harrison was back after missing on Wednesday, and they feel good about Greedy Williams being ready to go this week.
Denzel would be because we're still in the throes of it. So if unlikely on him, but everybody else feels
Did
good.
Myles practice yesterday?
He was limited.
Yes.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty standard there. The Guardians game tonight has been canceled. That
Yes.
happened to be actually before
Sad.
we started the show, or postponed until tomorrow. So if it goes 5, they will play 4 straight days. So they're going to play tomorrow afternoon, and then
Which
they
is
will,
wild.
crazy. Then you'll fly and then play Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night. Is that the
Then
setup?
we're Game 5 deciding. I'm sure they're putting that in prime time.
Yeah. So in 2 of those, it's an incredible weekend in college football. So they'll go. Baseball's going to go head to head with college football, which has been dominant from a rating standpoint, week in and week out. And then it'll go head to head with the NFL Sunday, and then we'll have to go head to head with. If it went 5, we'd have to go head to head on Monday Night Football as well. That's a tough spot. All right, we have a score, I believe, Gibbe.
We do. It's a doozy. Pushing Al to the brink here. Chicago playing host to the Washington Commanders. Lots of drama in Washington land.
Did you read that piece?
Boy, did I.
Did you read the Wickersham piece?
Of course I read it.
Doesn't it sometimes when I watch like Succession or Billions, I think this can't be how real. This isn't real, is it? And then you read this and you go, oh,
Maybe.
yeah.
Is he willing?
Does he have a Tom Wamscans to take the fall for the cruise line?
That's the thing. That's the question.
He tried
Well,
to
Bruce
make
Allen.
Bruce Allen and Gruden
was
the Tom
But no.
Wamscans, but it's not. I mean,
Not.
they're more like the what's the kid's name in it? The cousin?
Greg.
Craig.
Cousin Greg. Greg.
Cousin Greg. He went
I mean,
the right way. I mean, what do you do?
By the way, you've got that going on. Your
Yeah.
coach said you're bad because of the quarterback. Don't
He
forget
walked that back.
happened
He walked
3
it
days
back.
ago.
Yeah, you continued to pick as your new name something that the short for it is commies.
Yep.
So you did that too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And randomly looked like the Pittsburgh Steelers last weekend. So you have that going on. By the way, did you see what the Bears are wearing tonight?
Oh, did I?
Eesh.
Yikes. Don't like it. Not a fan.
No. You
Not
look
a
like
fan.
Illinois.
They do.
That's
5
an
and
Illinois
1
look.
lineup,
Yeah.
though.
D could love it.
Why don't you lead us off for this Thursday?
Oh. Putting
I've been
pressure on you.
No, we've been alternating, and we've
You've
been
been
red
crushing,
hot.
yeah.
We've been red hot. Remember, it's a Thursday.
It's a Thursday.
It's a Thursday.
Let me just say this. What would make this like this is watchable to me because of Fields, and I like him.
And David Montgomery for me.
Okay, so for fantasy purposes.
Yep.
Yeah, there'll
From
be two
a-
people watching.
Oh boy, it'll annihilate it. I guarantee you this gets 10 million.
Oh, yeah.
They'll do 10 million. Easy.
Curious to see Brian Robinson, too, since I didn't get to see him
Oh,
last
right.
week and his
Yeah.
return from
Right.
being shot, literally.
But from a quality of play standpoint, this is pretty close. I mean, like Carolina versus what? What's the worst possible matchup in the NFL? Carolina's in it. Who's the other team?
Carolina, Houston, Carolina, Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh's there, aren't they?
I'd put Houston ahead of
Offensively.
both.
At least
of
you
them.
can watch
One.
Pickens try to floor
Houston
people.
at least plays tough every week.
Yeah. I'm going with the heart here. Justin Fields at home. Raucous comeback last week against the Vikings. Bears. The Bears.
Thursday night delight.
30.
A real treat.
Real treat. Oh, baby.
We're back tomorrow.
We're retiring to the chambers. See you mañana.
Scores on a Football Friday, among other things. The next level coming up next. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.